And it is necessary for those people who rule over us and who rule over African people the world over, if those people are to stay in power, they must destroy our ability to love each other in a healthy sort of way. This is why...
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is. Thank you for tapping in. This is Brian H. B. Williams. This is the End of the Bench Media. This is a program called God as Community. God as Community is designed to uplift our community in every way, shape, form, and fashion, using first and foremost, putting God first. Anytime you put God first, you'll be okay. And second and most importantly, is the word community. The word community encompasses everybody in the community. It encompasses the entire diaspora of Black people throughout the entire universe. So what I want us to understand is this: we must provide information and documentation to move into the future for our great-grandchildren's grandchildren. Today, the program is called Build and Destroy, where I want to build up our community and destroy the lies and propaganda that surround our community. It's only one way to do those things. And when we do those things, it's providing information, care, and love. We've put ourselves in a situation to whereas we've bought into a system that has no business and has no need for us. We have no business participating in the system. Now, the system is the system, therefore you must use everything and all the tools around you to work within the system. But we don't need the system. We do not need the system to be as successful as we can be. Now, before I continue, I want to thank my parents, Dolores and John. Without them, there is no me. Without me, you'd be doing something else with your valuable time. And if you want to visit my website and look at the things that I have set forth so we can become the best community possible, we can return to our former position in the world as the most powerful community in the world, and we can do everything we can so our great-grandchildren's grandchildren will have the best of everything the world has to offer. If we don't do these things, then we will continue to sink lower and lower in a situation called the United States. This, in my opinion and other people's opinion, this is a criminal enterprise. And if you're expecting a bunch of criminals to do right by you, that's where our fault. That's where we made the biggest mistake possible. That is where the biggest mistake possible was made, because we are asking people who have done everything humanly possible to destroy, denigrate, and disrespect and disregard us to do right by us. And that, in my opinion, is foolish. Now, once again, if you use the word of God, and that will uplift our community, and then our community, if you've heard me say time and time again, a rising tide lifts all boats. We are the rising tide. As long as we stay in step with God, we'll be okay. A lot of people will hear me say, use the references of God, and get turned off a bit. That's your problem, not mine. Again, that is your problem, not mine, because everything that I've ever been able to accomplish, it has been encompassing with, I've accomplished it with putting God first and then moving forward. Everything in this community, this Black community in these United States of America, from the enslavement period up until the emancipation, and then including this very day, has been including God every step of the way. Do we have ancillary people who don't want to participate in the faith-based rituals that we participate in? Of course we do. But history tells us that we started with God and we rose. And we started with God and we rose. And the reason we remain stagnant at this point is because we're buying into what man has put in front of us. That's why the program is called God as Community. Our community is a faith-based community. Whether you no matter what sect of faith that you participate in, it's still faith. Now, with that being said, what I'm going to do is put us in a position, well, hopefully I can put us in a position to whereas we can use this mantra, God is community, and put ourselves in the best possible situation. So our great-grandchildren's grandchildren will have everything available to them in the entire universe so they can excel, they can prevail, they can uplift, and they can provide guidance for the rest of the population of the entire earth. We are the most influential community on earth. We've taken nothing and made it into something, whether it be food, we've taken their spirituality and inculcated it into ours and uplifted it and reestablished the roots that we from whence we came. Monotheology comes from the continent. The continent created Christianity. The continent created Judaism. The continent created Islam. The three major religions that are on the face of the earth today. So if you don't want to participate, then that's understandable. But this is us. We are everything inside of us encompasses this, and we have put ourselves in a position of inferiority instead of superiority. And I don't mean the superiority that makes you think you're better. The superiority meaning you can do better. You just have to want to do better. And that's exactly where I find myself in a position trying to uplift my people, trying to put my people in the best possible situations. And if anything, I don't want to denigrate anybody. I want to uplift everybody. In the event that you doubt anything I just said about God and us being a part of God, all you have to do is go to any of these points of references in that Holy Bible that most of us read from, whether it be Islam, whether it be Christian or Judaism. You can reference those 3 books, those 4 books, and it lets you know that what you have inside of you. This is why I made this. This is why I changed the title of my rebranded my program and called it Goddess Community. When you look up those books, and I'm gonna bring those books up, and while we're talking about this, those books let you know exactly who you are. First question of the day is I always start off with the questions. I always start with the people who are opposing us, and then I hopefully provide some answers. If you have better answers, leave it in the chat room. Leave a comment. Tell a friend to tap in, share, like, comment, subscribe. Now, with that being said, where do we go wrong? There's a bunch of points that you can say where we went wrong, but these are the points in which I think are the most important portions of us going wrong. Where do we go wrong? We brought into the concept of America. The United States of America was established by some rich, white, land-owning people physically dominating people. These men they call them the forefathers. They are not our fathers. I'm going to tell it again. George Washington is not my father. Thomas Jefferson is not my father. And the other people who created the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights and things of the nation, they are not my forefathers, because they had to come to a compromise to say I was 3/5 of a human being. And seeing how Black people are the oldest people on this planet, with their grandfathers, with their fathers, with their uncles, with their brothers, and they cannot tell me what I am or am not. But we bought into it. See, the thing is, when you have been captured and you have been attempted to be dehumanized, no one can tell you from that dehumanizing culture what and who you are. And we have said, oh yeah, I'm an American. Now, you were born in these United States of America. You are a citizen of this criminal enterprise called the United States. True indeed. But if you are truly an American, why is it that you're still fighting? And even to this day, you have straw bosses like Clarence Thomas participating in the denigration and destruction of our community. You have people pretending that they don't understand what's going on. You have people saying, hey, well, it's not this and it's not that. Well, one question for anybody watching and everybody watching. If disrespect, denigration, discrimination, and restructuring is not the order of the day, why is it that we're still fighting? Why are women still fighting for a total autonomy of their body? Why are Black men and women still attempting to get cover the entire landscape of the rights that are provided by this contract called the Constitution of the United States of America? Why is it that we're still suffering from discrimination, lack of funding, and things of that nature? Why are we still fighting? If this is over, we had a Black president, and we had a this, and we had a that, we had a Black governor, we had a Black mayor. Well, they're called tokens. And there's no disrespect for anybody who's done the righteous job and been duly elected to those offices. They have to capitulate to what's going on in the country. That's not a problem. But politicians are not our friends. And if we still suffer from the ills of discrimination, oppression, disrespect, then we haven't moved one iota since 1776 or 1863 or 1965 or anything else that has been presented to us as a token of peace. No, you don't offer a token of peace. You offer peace. And that's what I'm saying. Where we went wrong is we bought into the lie. We can no longer pretend that we're going to be citizens of these United States of America until you can have all the God-given rights. Man-given rights mean absolutely, positively nothing. I don't care about rights that are provided by this country. I want the rights that are provided by the creator of the universe, the Most High God. That's who I'm going to focus on. God gave me the right to walk around this planet. He gave me the right to breathe this air. He gave me the right to try and be as successful as I want to be. This is why I tell you, this is why I say God is community. This is why I brought up those previous scriptures when I was talking a second ago, because those things say we are God's children and we are part of God's divine plan, and no man or woman or child can take those things away from us. And if you allow those things to be taken away from you, you are foolish. But see, buying into the foolishness is what has happened. Instead of rooting yourself into what you believe in, your faith, your history, your culture, your development, your diaspora, you've bought into somebody else's. And now, once you walk into the house of your enemy, then your enemy keeps the rules. If you step outside of the house and create your own house, you create the rules. And that's the problem. We continue to attempt to be a part of a system that has rejected us, chewed us up, and spit us out time and time again. And it's time for us to stop. I am sick and tired of it. I am sick and tired of being disrespected. I am sick and tired of not embracing who I am as a community. Individuals, see, that rugged individualism that I've spoken about time and time again, that rugged individualism is what's holding us back. We've replaced our us with a me. No more me. It's about we. Because guess what? If I'm on the Titanic and I live with my mother, my sisters, my brothers, my aunts, my uncles, my lady, our children, if everybody dies, I did not win. See, I have to worry about myself. No, you don't, because we're tribal people. Everything we do in unison. We do as a group, because that's the way the Lord created it. That's the way the creator, the Most High God, did it. He established it so it would be a we at all times. We don't know how to do me does not know how to do everything. That's why he needs a doctor. That's why he needs an architect. That's why he needs an electrician. That's why he needs a plumber. That's why he needs somebody in technology. He needs an engineer, because he does not have the capability of doing everything, but he is a piece to a puzzle of we. And see, we continue to walk away from it. And that's the second problem. We go wrong by adapting our captors' way of thinking. It's called Stockholm Syndrome. We're thanking people for allowing us to be successful in the world that God created. God created this world. No man has the right to give you a right to do anything. And we keep buying into it and buying into it and buying into it and buying into it. And we have found ourselves lost. Individuals succeed. Oh, well, you see Oprah. Where in the world do you go to the very top to say that's the standard? Now, do we all have the ability to be an Oprah Winfrey? Yes, we do. But if we create our own situation, there will be multiple Oprahs. There will be multiple Barack Obamas. There will be multiple Thurgood Marshall. There will be multiple Michael Jordans and Jackie Robinsons and Muhammad Ali's. But don't show me the very cream of the crop and then say that's the standard. That's not the standard. Now, that is excellence. But we all have the ability to strive for excellence. Now, if you're striving for excellence, you may just get to well done. But if that's your best, that will be excellent for you. That's why there's a hierarchy in everything that we do. We continue to allow people to establish things for us, and that's our problem. Hey, well, we need to be like them. I need to move into this neighborhood. No, you need to stay where you are, in my personal opinion. You can do what you want, but in my opinion, you just stay where you are and develop that community and force out the negative energies in that community. But we don't do it. We buy into the me and not the we. And everybody who is part of a faith-based organization or has a faith-based union, understand it's a we. If you the Prophet Muhammad, the Messiah, Jesus Christ, they never talked about I. They talked about we. They talked about God's plan. God has not one I. He is the top, and the rest of us fall in line. There is no I. And we have lost that. We are bought into other people's ideology. People that love our rhythm but hate our blues. You cannot punch me in the eye and then question my ability to see. And that's what we've fallen victim to. We've fallen victim to people punching us in the eye and then questioning, hey, why can't you see anymore? I can't see anymore because I was punched in the eye by you. My vision is hampered, and now I have to fight through that. But here's the greatness in being us. We fought through every obstacle humanly possible. But the problem we keep doing, the problem we keep having is we keep trying to inculcate ourselves into a system that rejects us. You cannot ask to get past the wall that is built by maybe God created that wall so we can go over and do our own thing. Maybe God supports that wall because he wants you to go over and finish creating the wall that he created. It is an impasse. Sometimes he doesn't want you to go past it. That's why you keep running into said wall. But if you do what God said and live up to your capabilities and work with your tribe and uplift people after your tribe is being created, developed, and our tribe will be the greatest, the brightest, and the best. We won't need other tribes. But as long as we continue to buy into someone else's ideology, we will continue to suffer because they've taken our agriculture, they've taken our food, they've taken our original text from the God that we all cherish, and we've gotten it back. But there's been things skewed, and the beautiful thing about the Word of God, no matter how you skew it, the text will always come back perfect. So we don't have to just listen. What we have to do is start to study. Again, the Word of God. My lack of knowledge is why we suffer. But we don't want to hear that. I see you being too preachy, H-Rap. But that's what I'm here for. Podcasts are people preaching. This is my pulpit. I'm here to uplift our situation. And if we continue to buy into it, we will continue to suffer the ills of the negative people in the world. I don't have a specific man that I have to point to. I'm pointing to the wicked people who sow the seeds of deception, sows the seeds of impurity, and sows the seeds of the Most High God. And that's what we're dealing with. Who is fighting our success? Anybody who's fighting our success is anti-God. And you don't have to buy into my ideology. All you have to do is look around. There have been chapter, book, and verse. Your interstates throughout these United States of America. Interstates throughout the United States of America have shown us one thing and one thing only. Every time there's a thriving community, we don't participate in the electoral process, and they use things like eminent domain to pick us up out of successful communities and dissect us and put us in different parts of the city, making us weak. Exactly what they're doing now. It's called gerrymandering now, and they are benefiting from our lack of success. They're fighting our success because if we ever come together, then they have zero power, they have zero authority, and they have zero ability to dominate us. That's why they fighting our success. How do they do it? They present technology which makes you mentally lazy. They bring about technology that makes you mentally lazy. Spelling is down, reading is down, comprehension is down, interaction with people is down. And those are all the ills of technology. Facebook, I can reach people. I've connected with several friends from my younger days in life, and me and those people come together. But see, now I don't need to see you because I saw it on Facebook. I don't need to attend your homegoing services because I saw it on Facebook. I saw it here, I saw it there. But again, back to this Word of God, it says, well, the two or more are together, that's where I'll be. So if it's two or more, what about the more? Why are we always separated? How many times have you missed something with your family because you just didn't feel like it, versus coming together and enjoying those people and not being uplifted by those people. Because when you and your family are together, when you and your friends together, God's there. And when God's there, things are better. But see, I'm gonna use this technology to dumb you down. Your academics will go straight in the garbage. You will not pay attention to your history. You will not pay attention to how you got here. How did you get here? What led you here? Again, Sankofa. I've mentioned that. Sankofa. It's a bird with an egg in its mouth, looking the opposite direction that his body is pointing. How did I get to this point? I'm gonna learn the history, but technology does not teach you history. It teaches you now. It teaches you to focus in 90 seconds to 1 minute intervals. And that's not enough to understand who you are. No one could tell you about your family in 90 seconds. They've trained you. Technology trains you to not focus. You only listen to your significant other. You only listen to your children. You only listen to your friends. You only listen to your relatives for 45 to 90 seconds. And then you start to respond. You listen to respond. Technology taught you that. Technology taught you that. You didn't come up with that concept on your own. That's why reels, even now, I post, this will be a reel, and it'll say, Brian, your more successful reels are 45 seconds. Well, you can't go into depth, H-Rap, because people are not going to pay attention that long. I come from a time in which I used to watch television shows that had 8, 9, 10 episodes, like Roots. I used to watch TV shows that were hour long. Only time I blinked is when a commercial came on. I went to the bathroom or went to refresh my drink. I couldn't pause the TV, so I had to focus. And when you focus and you pay attention, that's when people who are in power have less chance to control your mind. They've reduced us to, again, as I said 2 weeks ago, they reduced us to screen agers. We're no longer teenagers. We're screen agers. We're like, we have the mind of a teenager because young people don't focus because everything is new. It's difficult to focus when everything is new. But when you are your grandparents, when you are your parents, when you are yourself a parent and you have younger people, each stage is there for a reason. We've eliminated the middle passages. Parents and grandparents, our great grandparents, they can tell us about what's going on. They can tell our parents can tell us, and we can tell our children. But our past means nothing to us anymore. It's the now. That's why you can say this person is the greatest of something of all time, and he's only been around for 5 to 10 years, and he's accomplished things. Again, they only want you to focus on now. Because when you realize the past is the most important thing in your life, because it'll stop you from hitting potholes in your future, you will understand how I got here. Why am I a podcaster? Because I told my mother back in 1980 I wanted to be a sportscaster, and then I attempted to do this with sports, and I connected with people, and it didn't work out. So I take that information of my dream, how it didn't work, and I processed that how it didn't work, and then I got here, speaking from my heart, taking notes, reading from a teleprompter, reading from my notes, and understanding why am I talking to you. And that is not just technology allows you to see me, but technology also allows my notes to be right here where my hand is, and I can read those notes, and I can take copious notes and disseminate the information to you and allow you to process that information, and then let the information sit, get rid of the things, chew up the meat and spit out the bones. The things that you don't need that I say, spit it out or leave it to the side until you need it. Everything that I say can be used to your betterment, never to your detriment. And that's what technology does. Technology teaches you, hey, it's about now. It's about me. It's never about we. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to let you know it is never about me. It's always about we. The people who are going to benefit from us looking at this the wrong way are the people who are in charge of that. Who wins? Those people. The people who are in charge of the United States of America. The people who are in charge of destroying people. And how do you destroy? With a lack of knowledge. That's why you have, at one point, we created the public schools. We are the vehicle to that established the public school, because we went from 4% reading as a community, Black community in the United States of America in 1863, 12 years later, at the end of Reconstruction, 84% of us was reading. So the white folks said, we want to learn as well. See, you control people with a lack of knowledge. Ignorance is the greatest control device you will ever be able to, because if I can disseminate information, I can spoon feed and panhand you anything I need you to get. You will take a gigantic crumb for an entire cake. You will mistake that. That's what you will believe. You will believe that murky water is not as good as clean. It is just as good as clean water. No, clean water and the cake is what we want. And guess what? Schools help provide that. And guess what? We even got to the point. This is why integration was introduced to us, because not only did we learn how to read, not only did we start creating business, not only did we start having people like we always learn about Thurgood Marshall and people like Johnny Cochran. But what about the people who taught them? See, in order to be good at something, you must have a teacher. And it's not always your parents. It's outside forces, it's mentors. You must be a mentee to be a leader. You must be a private before you could be a captain, before you could be a major, before you could be a general. So who taught the man how to be a general? How many times have you thought, who taught Johnny Cochran? Who taught Thurgood Marshall? Who are some of the greatest legal minds in the world, so you can have the foundation to attack the status quo? And that's why you have things like freedom schools. You got public schools versus freedom schools. Public schools versus freedom schools. Public schools is that's who's fighting our success. Freedom school is taking the concept of academic excellence and moving it into a freedom school, which we established throughout the United States of America, in places like Philadelphia, Chicago, Los Angeles, and other Baltimore and other places that we were coming into prominence. And we took that rudimentary information that they gave us, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Theodore Roosevelt, John F. Kennedy, and now Barack Obama will fall into that stages of rehabilitation, stages of reconstruction. And guess what happens? We take that information and then we fill in the blanks. But if you don't have freedom schools, you just have public schools, you're not being educated, you're being indoctrinated. And that's how they're winning. They indoctrinate us into believing we're this and we're that, and we're fighting each other, and this is the way to go. No. Again, as I stated, they love our rhythm, but they hate our blues because they know they cause the blues. See, when you know you force pain upon somebody, when you've attacked somebody, when you attempted to beat them down to nothingness, and they still rise out of the concrete like a rose, they still rise up out of the jungle and create something beautiful and ultimately untamable like a phoenix. You have to either apologize or attempt to destroy it. And those two things are not going to happen. One of those two things will never happen. You will never get an apology by the people who are benefiting from your oppression. We can fight for reparations, but you know what? We have the ability at 45 to 60 million strong to create our own reparations and still ask for it. Don't get me wrong. We still ask for it. But what we can do is create our own force and put ourselves in position to never need anybody, to never have to ask for one thin dime for anyone. And when you realize the power you have, people who are fighting against your success, they fail. And that's what leads me to this, the organization and the answers. You see that this is the Black Panther Party. At one point, it was known as the Black Panther Party of Self-Defense. They were organizing people. They were educating people. They were creating standards. They were creating standards in which we had to, if you were a part of that organization, you had to adhere to, the same kind of standards that God created, the 10 Commandments, or you could even say the laws of Ma'at, wherever you want to go with it. These are the commandments that this is the structure that God put in place. See, without structure, you'll have failure. Structure is a plan. And if you don't plan to succeed, you need to plan to fail. See, we have the answers. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. The wheel isn't a new concept. Fire isn't a new concept. Medicine and agriculture are not new concepts. You are what you eat. We can make it all rudimentary. You are what you eat. So if you put poison in your body, you will get poison. You also eat with your eyes, the things that you see. You eat with your ears, the things that you hear. See, it's not just about ingesting, going through your esophagus, going through your small and large intestine processor, and then it's poison. Poison you can hear. Poison you can see. And poison is being forced down your throat every day. Look at the way we disrespect our women in this community. Let's start with the source of life. Our music. I am a hip hop junkie. We tend to fall in love with the music that we were raised on. My mother and her people were doing the Motown thing, and then her younger siblings did the funk and the disco thing in the 70s. And then hip hop took over in the 80s when I came of age. My development 2 years of hip hop, so I immersed myself in hip hop culture, whether it be dance, whether it be graffiti writing, art, whether it be DJing, MCing, and the way we dress. It is a self-expression. But what we've done is allow other people to take our culture and turn it on us like a rabid dog. Our culture has never done anything to hurt us because our culture is developed by us. It's putting us in a situation so we can win. But you have been duped into believing that it is negative. It's not negative. What the corporations have done is present the worst portion of everything about this culture, the worst portion of funk, the worst portion of Motown. They hired the fact a lot of those guys on Motown were using drugs and beating women. Yeah, but most of them were not. Most of them are successful musicians and artists. Funk, it was about this. No, it was not. Now it's hip hop. Hip hop permeates throughout the entire world. We are people who are emulating us that have never been here. You have people who actually look down on Black Americans outside of the country, and then they walk, talk, and try to sound like us. See, there's two schools of thought in the world. You have a social structure and a governance structure. The social structure is how people see you. And how do people see you? If you don't have any mass media, if you don't have any written text, if you don't have any public representation of who you are, that's what people see. They see and they judge in accordance to what they see. How people see you, a governance structure. It's how you see yourself. See, that's the most important one. See, Black people never ... Black people we will never ... because you've taken social structure ideals and applied them to governance structural conversation. I don't need anybody to tell me who my lady is, because guess what? We talk every day. We raise our children. We engage. We are immersed in who we are. My sisters, my brothers, my cousins, my friends, my community. You can't tell me a damn thing about the Black community, because guess what? I never expected the Black community to be perfect. But what we've done is allow the social structure to lower our standards. So then when we get into a governance situation and talking about the improvement and the empowerment of our community, you've already had that social structure construct placed into your psyche. And now you're suffering from Stockholm syndrome, because now you're going to attempt to apply all the rules of your oppressor, all the rules of the people who captured you, all the rules who people attempted to destroy you physically, mentally, and spiritually, to your governance structure. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the entire wrong way to see things. Our governance structure should encompass the history of us, the Shaka Zulus, the Queen Nzingas, the Sojourner Truths, the Ida B. Wells, the W.B. Du Bois, the John Horses. How many of y'all even know who John Horse is? Look him up. He's one of the key people in the emancipation of our people. He didn't do things like Martin King. It wasn't broadcasted about the world and bandied about. But you also need to look up Denmark Vesey. You need to look up Morris Brown. You need to look up thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people to find out just how great we were. They teach you about when I was coming up, you saw pictures of, you might see Frederick Douglass, and then you see Martin King, and then you see Bill Cosby when I was a child. They probably replaced him with Eddie Murphy, and then they replaced him with Martin Lawrence and so forth and so on. You may see Muhammad Ali. No. That isn't a grain of salt in the desert, or the ocean of greatness that is the Black community. But when you have a governance structure mentality, all you know is what's great about you, because you understand. See, if you're intelligent enough to create a governance structure mentality, you also should be intelligent enough to understand that that social structure mentality is to destroy you and everything about you and everything about it. And that's what the social structure is about. But we continue to do it. What we need to do is focus on cultural cultivation. See, when you go to the AME church, some of the original Black churches in the United States of America, and you see the carvings of Islam, you see the Masonic carvings, you see Christianity carvings, you see African carvings in the churches from 100, 200 years ago in a country that is only 250 years old, but they allowed us to continue to worship because we're spiritual people. And you see that we had those same carvings that lets you know Willie Lynch is wrong. And why did I bring up Willie Lynch? Willie Lynch said, all you have to do is bring up it's 11 things that they are different from. There are 11 differences of Black people. And each one of those differences will separate them for 300 years. And whether it be light skin, dark skin, fat, skinny, old, young, man, woman, child, boy, girl, north and south, east and west. See, y'all think Tupac and Biggie started that East and West Coast thing. No, they started it with us because they needed us to continue to be separate. See, but when you have cultural cultivation, then you understand, I speak a different dialect than my brother. When you have people like Ari Spears talking about people from the South are ignorant, they stupid, they need to be smart like me. But you dropped out of 9th grade and you are not a well-read, you're not a well-educated, and you're not a thought-provoking individual, which shows you that God is present in Ari Spears' life, simply because to be as successful as he's been and be that ignorant, it can only be God. But then again, Satan blesses people too. But I'm not going to say Satan did. God has blessed that brother. But he was comfortable standing in front of the world, denigrating our brothers and sisters from the South, when he don't even realize that most people in our community are living in the southern part of the country. Yeah, you got people in LA, you got people in Dallas, you got people in the West Coast, you got people in the northern part of the country, but still, we still dominate the southern hemisphere of the country. But see, he doesn't realize that. He doesn't even realize he cost himself money by disrespecting the largest group of Black people in these United States of America. But then that's because he has no cultural cultivation, because we've allowed our oppressor, we allowed our people who are fighting against our success to hinder or retard, so to speak, that cultural cultivation. Because the people in the South are not slower. They move at the pace that the people off the continent move. See, there is no speeding up of the people of the continent. You don't speed up the people in the Caribbean. You don't speed up the people who are in our natural habitat, which will be naturally about 80 degrees. Because see, when you can plant a crop in June, or if you can plant a crop in September, that crop will cultivate and feed you for the entirety of the year. See, but you don't think like that because you have been inculcated into the believing your master, your oppressor, your person who's in charge of your Stockholm syndrome, their way is what is the correct way. And your way is the correct way, because the original way is the correct way. These are the people who created written text. These are the people who have created monotheology, the study of one God. No sun God, no rain God, no dirt God, no crop God. It's the creator, the most high God. But you didn't know that because you allowed someone to read to you the text that you wrote down. The oldest text in the world is a Bible that is in Ethiopia in its original church. But you have been told that because it was in it would come in Aramaic and Semitic Arabic, then Latin, then Greek, then English. And that text has been changed, but the context has never been retarded. See, you don't understand that because the book even says it. You study, my people will suffer due to lack of knowledge. My people will suffer due to lack of knowledge because you are allowing the people who attempted to control your mind, body, and spirit to tell you how to connect to the Creator. And then you follow suit. I had a conversation earlier today with one of the best brothers I know, and he was saying you shouldn't do certain things, and this is the way. No, we should, and this is what led me to this: empathy, focus, and care. We have suffered in regards to empathy, focus, and care. See, we're not empathetic to our brothers and sisters who are struggling. We don't have the care for them that we should because Michael Jordan, Oprah Winfrey, Bob Johnson, and other people have succeeded. If you can name the success stories in your community isn't successful. There is no way to name all the successes when your community is successful. You identify the successes when they are few. But if you're never told those successes exist, you suffer. You are hindered by that. You will just continue to think other cultures and other ways of knowing is the way you should know. But our way of knowing is the way of knowing. This is what you have never been taught. See, but if you don't have the empathy to understand, you may have learned and you may have beat the system. Just because one person breaks out of a prison does not mean the prison is broken, because you have 8,000 people still struggling inside, but I got out. Because that means you don't have empathy. And if you don't have empathy, you cannot provide care. And if you cannot provide care, then you are lost. See, but when you do provide empathy and you provide care, that person is stronger. That person has a greater spirit. That person is greater physically. That person is greater academically. That person is greater mentally. And then you have what we need: focus. You have the focus of success. The focus will get you success. You will burn a hole into the ground. You will burn a hole into concrete with focus. But if you don't have empathy and you don't care about anything but yourself, how could you teach your brother? See, to make it to the top of the mountain is great. But if the goal is the top of the mountain and everybody related to you is still at the bottom, are you successful? That's why the me was replaced as a replacement for the we. Because if we continue to do the me, we will continue to struggle. I can give you a dozen, just off the top of my head, a dozen reasons why we're unsuccessful. For example, instead of entertainment was one of our ways in. And instead of people like at Motown and people at Def Jam and people at Ruthless Records and Rap-A-Lot Records and Luther Campbell's record label, instead of them working together and distributing their own thing, they tried to get to the top first. No, you don't do that. Get this. You see movies called The United Artists. That's because a few Jewish actors, Charlie Chaplin being one of them, they came together. Instead of dealing with Hollywood, they created their own force. Tyler Perry did it. Tim Reed did it before him. Now, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson is attempting to do it. Cat Williams is attempting to do it. Why are we doing it on all these different platforms when we can just be doing it with Brother Perry? Them and Brother Perry can work together and they can come together and create the United Africans, the United Black Artists, or Sankofa, the Sankofa project, or anything. We can call it 1,000,005 things. But see, we keep trying to be the richest and most powerful individual in the world, and we don't have to be. We could be the richest and most powerful community in the world, but we don't have to be. Why do you think? And no disrespect to my brother Michael Jordan, he's a little older than me, but no disrespect. Why do you think they uplift Michael Jordan? Because they've told you that helping other people is wrong. See, LeBron only does that for attention. Well, I don't, I've read through the Bible a few times. I didn't see Moses hiding doing anything. I didn't see Noah hiding and doing anything. I didn't see Jesus hiding any miracles. He did it right in front so everybody could see it and hopes to inspire. He didn't tell those brothers in Matthew, I'm here to teach you to do things greater than me so you can sneak around and do it. No, I want you to be great. And then I'ma shine on you. And then you shine on 13. Y'all shine on 13 and you're gonna shine on 26 and so forth and so on. That was the goal. It is never to do great things in secret. What is the purpose of helping if it's a secret help? No, I'm here to let you know the standard is the standards. As Brother Mike Tomlin say, the standard is the standard. Let the main thing be the main thing. What's the main thing? To help. So how can you sneak around and help? That's why our brother Jordan, who I'm not saying he sneaks, but he does his philanthropic duties in private. But if you can get people for the last 40 years to buy the same 24, 25 pair of gym shoes, just imagine if you start doing charitable work in front of people. What will happen? Wow. You got people wearing shirts. You got people wearing shorts. You got people wearing shoes. You got people wearing socks. You have people walking like you, talking like you, chewing your gum like you. So what happens if you start doing community activist work? You ain't got to be Fred Hampton. You don't have to be Huey P. Newton. You don't have to be Martin King. You don't even have to be Jackie Robinson. But what happens if you start showing, hey, Michael Jordan just put $80 million into a housing complex for low-income housing. Did you know that Michael Jordan has free clinics all through the state of Carolina? Yes, free clinics in urban communities. Imagine if other people start doing it. Jalen Rose opened a school. And guess what? LeBron saw that and he opened a school. What if Kevin Durant opens a school in D.C.? What if all those ball players out of L.A. start doing it? What if they get together and open up a chain of grocery stores and we only do that? See, that's why your charity and your philanthropic endeavors need to be broadcasted across the world. That's why your friends and neighbors, that's why the media, ESPN, Fox Sports, any other sports, mainstream media outlet kicks LeBron in his head. Because who wants to be kicked? I don't want to be kicked. No one wants to be kicked. But if I could put enough pressure on LeBron to make the other dude go, I don't feel like dealing with that. What has LeBron James done wrong? And I'm not a defender of LeBron. I'm a defender of a black man who's doing the right thing. No disrespect to my brother Michael Jordan again. No disrespect to our brother Dwayne Wade. But Michael Jordan and Dwayne Wade and Allen Iverson and Kobe Bryant are put up way up here. And then LeBron is right here. But what do they all have in common? Infidelities. Now, our brother Allen has gone back to his original wife. With God bless you. Thank you, Jesus, for that happening. But infidelities. They all have these things. But LeBron James is with the same woman since high school. The last time we heard him in trouble, it was speeding as a 17-year-old driving a Hummer. He has 3 children. He's helped his children get to their dreams, just like Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr. and his other sons are running his conglomerate. His son-in-law is running his conglomerate, Nepo children. The Kennedys. Why do you even know any Kennedys? Because Robert Kennedy Jr. is only famous because his father and his uncle. Nepo children. You think Bill Gates' kids are not doing well? You think the people at United Artists, you think the people at Merrimack, you think Bill Gates' son isn't doing something powerful or great? And he has the ability to do it because of who he is. Kenny Smith, I just saw him on a podcast called The Pivot, talk about how his roommate in college, was is a billionaire now because his father had one of the biggest plumbing conglomerates in the world. You hear nothing about that, but LeBron does it, and we trash him. See, that's what they get us to do. When you look at people, and they understand that we are the most forgiving community because we're the most godlike community. See, most people will walk away from their oppressor and never deal with their oppressor again. But what have we done? We haven't done that. We haven't done that. We don't denigrate them. We don't destroy. We don't wish destruction upon them. We just wish peace for ourselves. And people understand that. That's why you can have people go to a roast. Now, I've been watching those roasts since Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra and Esther Rolle and LaWanda Page. Y'all know as Aunt Esther. And all those Red Fox, and they used to do those roasts back in the day. You know what they used to do? They used to focus on community stereotypes, cultural stereotypes, and personal digs. At no point has it ever been a hanging joke, a Holocaust joke. No, we're just playing. But you know what? Let me tell you something. If you're just playing, walk up to somebody tomorrow. Pick any comedian, your favorite comedian, and have him walk up to you tomorrow. And if anybody who you truly care for has transitioned to the other side with the Lord, have them crack a joke on that person and how they died. I got two cousins, Vincent Williams and Cardell Davidson. They were taken from us due to gun violence. There will be no jokes about them. My father was struck in the head, and I never had a chance to meet him. There will be no struck in the head jokes, not without a severe butt whooping to follow it up. Because, hey, as they say, I ain't perfect. God working on me. I don't ever want him to remove the fact that I will hurt you for disrespecting my heritage. See, but people understand. Then these people boldly go in front of us. Oh, it was just jokes. No, there will be no jokes about my community. There will be no lynching jokes. There will be no murder jokes. There will be no hanging jokes. There will be no denigration of my community whatsoever. And we need to walk away from those people. We don't need to hate them. I don't hate anybody. But you know what? You're not going to denigrate my community and be comfortable and say, okay, well, they said it. Just like that magical word, the N word. We're no longer going to use that word and say, oh, man, see, we flipped it. No, because that means at some point we can use like dumbass. And now, oh, that's cool. No. Disrespect is disrespect. We can no longer allow people to disrespect us and disregard us and treat us as if we're secondary humans. We are the most beautiful people in the history of the world. What makes us beautiful? Not aesthetically, not because of the way we look. We're the most beautiful people in the world because since the 1500s, even before then, people have attacked that continent and extracted us and put us in bondage. They're still doing it out of Libya right now. They put us in bondage. While all y'all going over there to Dubai and what's the other one? I can't. When I think of it, I'll tell you the other one. And they're capturing our brothers and sisters and making them build stadiums and making it looks so beautiful. And that's at the hand of slavery. See, that's why the Pope apologized a couple of days ago, because the Pope authorized that. See, you understand. See, when you know your history, you understand why the Pope did. You know why the Pope did it? Well, I don't even want to get into why he did it, but if you're from Chicago, you understand. They did that because it needs to be apologized for. You had at the United Nations. They said the most atrocious thing to ever happen, the greatest atrocity in the history of the world is the Atlantic slave trade and the Arab slave trade as well. See, people forget about slavery going east. They don't think about the slavery going west and northwest. See, but these are the things that we need to never forget. See, this is why you have people like Brother Hart stand in front of the world and say, well, it was just a joke. Well, you know what? Let's start cracking jokes on your family, your deceased people that you care for. See, you're not going to tell me that you went to George Floyd's funeral and embraced his family, and now you allow somebody to talk crazy about Brother Floyd. You're not going to talk crazy about Sandra Bryant. You're not going to talk crazy about Botham Jean. We're not going to Ahmaud Arbery and the young brother Tamir Rice or Trayvon Martin or no other person in the history of this community that was taken away from us unjustly, but at the hands of the system. See, when you allow the door of disrespect to be open, somebody gonna kick it in. And if you allow it to open, it's just like in vampire movies. A vampire can't come in your house unless you allow it. Disrespect cannot come in our community unless we allow it. Our women are not bees and hoes. Our brothers are not lazy and thieves and trifling. Our children are not underachieving. We are not properly, we're not properly rearing our children. We don't have enough empathy for the women who struggle. We don't have enough care for our children. And the men, we lack the focus it takes to provide a safe space for those things to happen. See, I can go on for on and on and on. I can go on for the next week on this same stream about what we need to do. But we do need to do that. That's why we need more freedom schools instead of public schools. We need more institutions like Maybe we need to withdraw, or we need to focus. And we have these young people who are academically enhanced. When you have academically enhanced people, oh yeah, we want to go to Harvard. Okay, we're gonna go to Harvard, and we're gonna use all the resources at Harvard, because places like Notre Dame and Harvard and Princeton, they invest into their graduates because their graduates are representatives of them. Notre Dame purposely makes a 40-year commitment to each graduate. So if I got a 40-year commitment, that means I'm 60 years, 64. I'm retired. I'm at retirement age before they just say, forget it. So why don't we take those institutions and use their resources and come back home and build our communities, inspire us? Be more like Jonathan Bender. Jonathan Bender was a big time NBA prospect who fell victim to injuries, and they called him a bust. And he created a machine to strengthen the knees and strengthen the lower extremities that will help him earn. Went back after using it, had the opportunity to make tens of millions of dollars, turned it down, and now he's making hundreds of millions of dollars selling that machine. See, he used the NBA and all their resources to sell them the equipment. See, we can use the NFL, MLB, and all these sports entities to come back home and build our own entities. Why is it that a lot of us have Ohio State, University of Illinois, University of Wisconsin, University of Michigan, Texas, UCLA, and so forth and so on, SEC shirts, hats, drawers, underwear, T-shirts, or what have you, coats? We can be doing that same thing to HBCUs. We can go to privately owned HBCUs or closed HBCUs at 45 to 60 million of it. If we all put in $10, we could revitalize those institutions. We could, instead of loving the Pittsburgh Steelers and loving the Las Vegas Raiders and loving the Chicago Bears and loving the Green Bay Packers, we can start loving Winston State University. We can start loving Jackson State University. We can start loving Bethune-Cookman, Florida A&M University, FAMU, if you don't understand, Morris Brown, Bethune-Cookman. We can start Russ College in Mississippi, Alabama State University, and other HBCUs, invested in those and create our own NCAA tournament and create our own ABA, African American Basketball Association. We can create our own MLB and invest into that. See, we have all the tools. We just have to stop trying to focus. We must build our community and destroy the lies and propaganda that sit around our community that allows us to allow them to destroy us, denigrating our women, reducing them to bodies and breasts and behinds and lips. These are some of the most creative, dynamic people in the history of the world. True fighters, true warriors in every sense of the word. Think about this. We got warriors. We got queens. We have goddesses and empresses. We have some of the most creative people in the world. They take nothing in a meal and make it into something delicious, and now they sell it in highbrow restaurants. We have men who've created the stoplight, the gas mask, the elevator, and a dozen other things that's still inculcated, that is still immersed into you. It's epigenetically embedded into you. Think about this. At one point, your grandmother had your mother and you and her body at the same time, because the eggs that created your mother and created you were in your mother and sitting in your grandmother simultaneously. So everything that was downloaded into your mother was downloaded into you, and everything was downloaded, her mother was downloaded into you. And then the other half of you came along with your father, your grandfather, your uncles and aunts, and so forth and so on. These things are in you. That greatness is a part of you. You can't get away from it. You cannot get away from it. You can shut it down, but you can't stop being who you are, which is great. And with that being said, we must build up that greatness and destroy anything that is average. We must regain that focus that leads to success. We must reestablish that care that builds up things that create that focus. And we must use that empathy that's in our heart that puts us in a position that we can only win. And when we do those three things, you will have a million Barack Obamas, a million Amir Barakas. You even know who that is. A million Dr. Jeremiah Wrights, a million Dr. Kings, a million Ralph Abernathy's, a million Andrew Youngs, a million Gloria Richards. Ida B. Wells, Sojourner Truth. You have these people. They're all there in us. It's time for you to build up that inner powerful woman, man, child, and show the world who you are. With that being said, 2 fingers, 1 word. I am H-Rap-B. And with that being said, I am unequivocally out.
So really, ain't nothing in this integration. I need some land. I need some jobs. My people need jobs. We need something so we can build and do for ourselves, and we must have some land. Now, what's your suggestion? What should be my movement? Integrate?
Yeah, equal rights in a mixed society.
In this society, where you still own the government, you still own the train station, the railroad plant, the lecture plant, these television cameras, you still make all the food, you control everything, and I'm like a leech on a dog's back. All I can do is just wait for you. I can't do nothing for myself. Integrating in your society don't mean I'm doing nothing for myself. You doing it all. I want to do something for myself. I'm tired of depending on you. You might get broke one day. Your stores might close. Your gas pumps might cut off again. I'm relying on you now. Can I have my own land?